So I'm Marty Sakata. I'm here in Cockeysville, Maryland, with Asset Strategy Consultants, and very happy. It's a beautiful day outside. I know that the COVID variant is running amok, so we're being very safe here. And so I wanted to welcome everybody to the Ivy Family Office Network. So I've been running this for more than 20 years. I had a past in the investment banking world. I worked with several hedge funds. So what I want to talk about today, oops, sorry, it looks like my internet might not be that great, but I'm going to keep on going. So I want to talk about our plans for today. So we're going to be going on from now to around 4:30. Lots of panels on different topics. What I want to talk about is we have been in the area of crypto and SPACs, NFTs, real estate, alternative credit for many years, and we're visiting some of those topics. We're going to get started in about 2 or 3 minutes, but I want to introduce Al Morrison from Asset Strategy Consultants, who's hosting us today. So Al, why don't you come on up and you can introduce the firm, talk about what your practices are, and et cetera. Watch out for the cord.
This way. Don't want to be a casualty before we can get started. There you go. All right. Well, good morning, everybody. And as Marty indicated, Al Morrison, I'm one of the founding partners of Asset Strategy. We're an independent investment management consulting firm that was formed in 1991. So we're actually celebrating our 30th year, which is exciting for everybody. Look at the camera. Thank you, Marty. That does help. And we have a diverse client base. We have private wealth, which is certainly a big part of what Marty's involved with. But also we have a sizable endowment foundation client base, defined benefit, defined contribution, some insurance companies. We have what I'll call 2 models or mandates in servicing our client base. First is the more traditional, non-discretionary, where we're co-fiduciary with clients. We have a growing trend on the other half, which gets into full discretion, OCIO, the defined contribution world. You probably heard the ERISA 338 regulations that oversee taking control over plan assets. At 10, one of my partners, Andy Connors, is going to discuss private credit, but he also is our CIO and heads up all the work we're doing in the outsourced market. And we have certainly seen a substantial pickup in market, mid-market particularly, 500 million and below, certainly taking a very close look at the outsourced model. The other key component of asset strategy, I think we always want to stress, particularly with prospects, is as an independent firm, we want to operate with alignment of interest with the client. And so we're structured to avoid any conflicts. We do not have investment products. We do not have a brokerage affiliation. Our only form of remuneration comes from client services. And that's the model that we've had since which initiated. We do an awful lot of work in the alt space. So we've got 8 billion under management. And we had to respond to a recent RFP. One of the questions was, what is the size of the commitments from your client base? So we ran that, and we've got about 700 million in over 100 different partnerships. And these are partnerships that are still active, not ones that ran the full course and returned all their money. The other final point I wanted to just take a little bit of time on that we think is very important to how we service clients, our philosophy in this consulting business, and starts with depth of resources. We learned very early on that to be an independent consultant, you got to have the requisite tools to provide all the necessary components, from asset allocation studies, very deep money manager databases, performance reporting, governance, a long list. So over the years, we've put in place what we call professional business relationships with 3 leading firms in the financial services industry. The first you probably have all heard of or run across, Callan Associates out in San Francisco. And back in 1990, they formed a subsidiary called the Independent Advisor Group with the intent of leveraging off their resources they use to service their multi-billion-dollar clients and make it available to smaller regional firms like Asset Strategy for a fairly sizable annual fee, but it's been worth every penny. So it provides us with all the tools they use to service their clients. And it goes far beyond just having databases and analytical tools. It really is also access to all the intellectual talent. So if we're working on a private equity prospect or small cap growth, we can plug into their resources and leverage the team here in Hunt Valley that does all the proprietary work internally. The second component or business partner is Investment Metrics. A little story behind this. About 6 years ago, we wanted to enhance our institutional reporting, have more customization, really stay at the cutting edge. We spent 3 or 4 months interviewing 4 or 5 different firms that were in the business, narrowed it down to a firm called Investor Force. They're outside of Philadelphia, and then Investment Metrics. They're up in Connecticut. We chose Investor Force, and then lo and behold, about a year ago, over a year and a half possibly, Investment Metrics came along and bought Investor Force. And the combination now, they are the dominant player in producing very detailed institutional level reporting. And it really gives us a very deep resource when it comes to customizing reporting particularly. Then the third partner, this gets into the private wealth side. Again, after looking at numerous options, talked to InvestNet, Natixis, and we've been working now with a subsidiary within InvestNet called Tamarack, and that is the management platform, performance platform for all the private wealth. And final comment is our whole role here is to do customized work for clients. We have here in Hunt Valley, the other half, what I call the depth of resources, a 7-member analytical team. Andy Connor, where you're here at 10 o'clock, member. That's a third of our staffing here in Hunt Valley is tied to analytics. And it allows us to customize work. Everything is done here, but again, using the tools that we get from our professional business partners. And that is it. And I will turn it back to Marty. Questions? Sure.
Yeah. So can you talk a little bit about your group's involvement in alternatives? Like you guys work with real estate. It's not just all public equities. Is that correct?
Correct. So particularly for the Endowment Foundation, the defined benefit, insurance companies, we work illiquid space from private credit, private equity, venture capital, real estate. So it's a full suite of services that you find in a menu of looking at alternatives. And we focus by preference. We like to find smaller specialty managers that aren't raising billions and billions of dollars. We don't go up to New York to invest with Goldman Sachs. Been very successful in finding general partners who are raising 300 to 500 million. They are in many cases working on deal 5, 6, 7, 8. We've been early adopters in some that have become very, very successful. And yes, a full suite of the illiquid alt space. We are constantly refreshing. As we know, you're tied to when funds are in the market. So you've got to keep a robust calendar to ensure you have what's next online. And now we have a lot of repeat with GPs, as long as they maintain the same team, same focus. We shy away if someone is raising 500 million, the next one's $1 billion. That's a red flag. We question, can they invest those dollars as proficiently as when they had a smaller AUM?
So you like limited capacity.
Correct.
And also, so in the OCIO space, there's really a gazillion public equities guys. There are not many people with specialty knowledge and alternatives. So do you guys look at that as being a strategic advantage?
Certainly, this is a 20-year endeavor. We've been in the liquid alts for 20 years, and we certainly have built up the capability, the network of GPs, get a lot from Callan, certainly a lot from just industry contacts. So a fairly robust universe of opportunities. I should also mention Andy's credentials for a minute. I think that'll be interesting on this discussion. So Andy joined us from Johns Hopkins University where he spent 12 years as the Deputy Chief Investment Officer, $7 billion portfolio assets from the university and the hospital. And Andy can correct me later, but I remember from our discussions, and when he joined us, close to half of that portfolio was in alternatives. And so he brought another level of expertise that complemented the work we're doing here. And again, other ways we source opportunities. So yes, an important part. It will continue to certainly be a primary value added when it comes to looking at new opportunities. We do have one fairly sizable municipal client, and we are their alt consultant. Wilshire is the general consultant. So we're starting to find other ways to take our expertise out to the market and find some niche opportunities that I think would be exciting going forward.
Fantastic. Great. Thanks so much, Al.
My pleasure, gentlemen. Thank you.
So just to add on to some of the things that Al was talking about, we've been very good at hunting emerging managers and kind of surfacing them up. So upper 90% to us a few years ago, they had fantastic returns, factoring cell phone mobile apps. And then we also worked with Pantera when they first launched their crypto fund. They had about 2 million under management. I think they've got a couple of billion now. That was back in 2013, 2014. And then we also worked with Terra Capital Management, which my last understanding was that they started with about $3 million when they were presenting to us, and they're over $1.5 billion, I think now. They've had fantastic success. There's been a great emergence in venture capital all around the country and outside the U.S. And there's all kinds of accelerators, and a lot of them look at healthcare. We're going to get to healthcare in 1 minute. I just do want to mention a couple of other things. We have we developed in-house IR platform, which is very outstanding. You can contact me if you want to hear about the metrics, but they're pretty fantastic relative to other IR platforms. We have a YouTube channel, about 200 videos are on there. We've got more than 200,000 views. And I've recently joined the executive committee of Working Nation, which was founded by Art Bilger. So Art used to be a lieutenant to Mike Milken, and they're based out of Los Angeles. So they're a not-for-profit dedicated to creating better quality working jobs for Americans and on training as well. So feel free to contact me. I'll circulate some information about Working Nation through the chat. You guys should all feel free to use chat to communicate with each other. Send out your LinkedIn profiles. If you're one of the speakers, send out your documents. I'm going to be sending out documents as well. So we're looking forward to it. We've been living in COVID for about 18 months now. It's had all kinds of impact. Yes.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. It might be better for your bandwidth if people turn their video off if they're not speaking. Just a recommendation, because you still are coming in and out.
Okay, got it. Thanks so much, Greg. But I'm going to be 1 more minute. So anyway, so COVID has impacted every industry, but no industry like the healthcare industry. And we've got a great panel assembled here, led by Doug Pace. And Doug is going to be lead discussion, introduce all of his speakers, and we're going to get into the thick of what's happening in COVID. Feel free to take your full hour, Doug. I know we've gone through some lengthy introductions, so looking forward to it. Please introduce yourself.